dissertation done. What I've come to learn and what I'm going to talk about in this video are the 5 promises that you need to make to yourself as a doctoral student in order to finish your dissertation in record time. I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this episode of From ABD to PhD Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Done Dissertation, where we help doctoral students write and defend their dissertation in 1 year or less. And if you're a doctoral student and you need help and support, we want to work with clients who are almost scared to make the investment in self because they're just wondering, can I do it? We found that working with those type of students have been the best for us because we know that with our proven system, our proven process, we can help fast track your dissertation success. So if you're someone who's interested in learning more about our services and program, go ahead and visit www.velocitydissertation.com to apply. And Velocity is our host for today's episode. So again, I want to talk with you, and I'm so excited about this particular episode because I know for many of us, we're trying to get through this process, and I found that working with our clients, there are some promises, key promises that you have to make to yourself in order to finish your dissertation. But what I've come to learn from some of you all who have not had the success that you wanted to have, it's because you may have set the promise, but you haven't made it and actually kept that promise. And so I'm going to talk about 5 that if you adopt these promises, I am sure that you can finish your dissertation process in record time. So the first, what we call one of our 5 essential promises to yourself as a dissertation writer for dissertation success, is that you have to first promise to yourself not to give up. I promise you, and listen to me clearly, the difference between those who finish and those who don't is not about how smart they are at all. It's actually about how adamant you are that you will do whatever it takes to get this dissertation done and not give up. This process I've come to learn through my own journey, but then supporting some of you all, in our program, we just come to learn that the doctoral process is not about smarts. Part of it is, but not the whole thing. And it's all about who is not willing to give up, because the ones who give up essentially will ensure that they do not finish. But if you don't give up and you keep pushing forward, moving forward, you can finish this thing. And I want to give a couple examples of how this happens and how you just can't give up with this process. So we had one of our clients, shout out to them. Now they, ascended to a very high level vice president position at their institution. And when they started to work with us, they were past their proposal defense. And as they were working through their dissertation, literally had written up their final chapters, their, findings chapters, as well as their discussion chapters, submitted it to the committee. And then the committee told the student that they had to go back and collect more data. As you could imagine hearing this, the student was very frustrated and distraught about the fact that they had to go back. They had already written everything up. 60, 70, 80 pages of text they've already written. Now the committee's requiring them to go back and collect more because they thought that they can have a larger sample. For some students, even at that point in the process, being at the very end like that, they would just say, oh, forget it. I quit. Like, I don't want to do this. But this particular student, they know who they are, was able to bounce back, actually went back to collect that data, wrote everything up, and still got out of their doctoral program from working with us in 4 months. They literally worked with us from September through December and defended the final dissertation in December. It doesn't take long to do this thing, but the ones who don't give up are the ones who finish this process. And, that particular student was a great example of literally having to go back and collect data. I know, and I remember having this conversation after office hours when I actually called the student up to talk to them because I could understand and how they were feeling about that part of the process. And the fact that they bounced back, they got it done still within the 4-month time frame. So finished quickly, turned everything around, got it done. And then as soon as they got the doctorate, was able to ascend into another promotion at work, which is a significant pay raise. And all these things, they not only recoup the investment in our program, 6, 7, 8 times over, but then also sent it to this new position because they had the doctorate and because they didn't give up. Like those type of skills and that willingness not to give up is a promise you have to make to yourself, or else you're not going to finish. And to give another example, one of our clients who recently defended about 2 weeks ago at the time of this recording was someone similar, came to work with us starting in January of 2023. But prior to that, in December, when they decided to join, they had made a promise to a family member who had since passed away that they would finish this doctoral journey. And that client most certainly came in and did what they had to do, literally worked with us from January through May, defended their proposal successfully. And then, January through April, defended their proposal in April, early May, I believe. And then from there went on to collect their data, write their findings up, and defend it in August. So they were 8 months start to finish from the beginning of their journey. It does not take long, but it takes someone who has made a promise to themselves that they will not give up. And those are just two examples of folks in our program who have not given up. They have successfully earned their doctorate. And now the opportunities are endless for them. And this is something that you have to consider as you're going through this dissertation journey. The second of the 5 essential promises that you need to make to yourself for dissertation success is that you have to promise to take care of yourself while going through this dissertation. Because what we've heard all too many times is folks like getting to the dissertation journey and this part of the process and then burning out. And there's nothing worse than burning out, especially when you get so close to finishing your process. And so this is something you have to be mindful of as you go through your journey. And this may look very different for some of you all, depending on how you show up and do your work. So for some of you all might be, getting that, housekeeper or getting that support so that you can take some of the services off of your plate, that will help you finish. We were just having this conversation with a client today who has a little bit of time left with us, is getting ready to finish up their proposal. And we were just talking about, because they have a lot of family obligations, and we were saying, hey, can you get help? Can you figure out some services that you can get for a family member to take that load off of you, because it's taxing, in addition to, having a long commute to work and a number of other things, factors that play, into the process. And, for that particular client, it will take like having those systems set up in order to get through this. I can even just say, even in my own journey, when I was a doctoral student, I was all over the place. I was scattered. Like I said, I've told the story numerous times, but sometimes I had at one point during my doctoral journey, I was, being a doctoral student, I was a full-time teacher at this point. I was coaching the men's varsity basketball team at my school, and I still had a private music studio. So my background is in music education. I still had a private trumpet lesson that I used to give once a week for a client. And so I had all those things going on. And then one day I just left the house with the refrigerator open, the phone off the hook, and the door slightly cracked. And so when Renee, my wife, came home, she's like, what the heck are you doing? Like, get it together. And so for me, I needed a break and a step back from it. So you have to figure out what works for you. Like even now as an academic, I'm a college professor. We support doctoral students through dissertation. Like I still have to practice, this kind of self-care throughout even my own journey as a faculty member. And it's something that you have to start doing now as a doctoral student, because you need the mental capacity to finish this process. And the cognitive load that this dissertation will take on you can really impact you in ways that you may not be thinking about. And so I want you to consider this early and often, like think about, how are you taking care of yourself? If you need the mental health support, do you have a therapist? Like I'm all for therapy. Like it's a great benefit. Like, do you have that support? Do you have, colleagues that you can hang out with outside of doing schoolwork? Do you have that balance? Is life encroaching too much on your process so you don't have the mental space to do more? So maybe you need to settle things with your life that will help you, give you the space and energy and time that you need to finish this process. Because remember, it doesn't take long to finish it. It just takes concerted effort. And sometimes you have to be willing to be selfish in order to give yourself that mental space that you need to finish this. And taking care of yourself is an essential promise. And it's probably one of the promises that I'll talk about today that doc students say, but don't follow through with the most. And I'm guilty of it as also, because we're, as you go through this, we overachievers. So we're like, look, I can do more and I can do more. And you put all these things on your plate. By the time you look up, you have no energy left to give. And what ends up suffering is always your dissertation, because every other thing feels more urgent and more important. So the dissertation goes to the back burner. So if anything's resonating with you, let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to, after this recording, I'll be sure to loop back around and engage with you all in the comments, because I love to hear what insights you're taking. And if you're someone who needs the support and want to learn more and want to get the help and want the structure, want the accountability, because you know that where you are as a doctoral student right now, you're not getting that mentorship and guidance that you need from your chair and committee, I invite you to work with us in our Velocity coaching program. You can learn more about our program at www.velocitydissertation.com to apply to work with us, learn more about our program, hear from our current and former clients, as well as for those of you all who prefer, you can just scan the QR code that's on the side of your screen. And you also can scan that, take you right to our website so that you can go ahead and fill out a form to work with us and get a consultation, just so we can see if we could be of support to you along your journey. And as we are transitioning, I want to talk about the third of the 5 promises, that if you're watching this on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, if you can take it and hit the share button and share it with 3 people or share it on your timeline, hit the share button somewhere so other folks can get this insight, because I think there are a lot of doctoral students making a lot of promises and they're unfulfilled promises. So I want to make sure that folks get this information. So again, I want to say thank you all so much because your insights and comments are really helpful. So go ahead and drop those in. Now, let's talk about the third of the 5 essential promises to yourself that you need to make for yourself for the dissertation process and for dissertation success. And so the third promise is that you have to promise to yourself that you are worthy of the life you desire after the dissertation is done. Remember, there is an end to this, and you had some marker that you wanted to, besides just earning the doctorate, right? There's more to it than just that, because a lot of us are crazy to go in these programs, spend 4 or 5 years, 3 to 5 years, whatever, however long you've been in your program to just earn a degree. It's more than that to you. So I want you to consider, what is the degree? What does the degree mean to you? Let me know in the comments. Why did you get into your doctoral program? Because these are the things that when you need it the most will really come helpful when the process starts to get on your nerves, because it will get on your nerves at some point in this journey. You're gonna want to say, forget all this, I'm throwing in the towel. And so you have to be able to make that promise to yourself that you are worthy of the life that you desire. And you remember, there is something that you want at the end. For I know a number of you all and clients we like to work with in our program, they have something on the line when they're trying to get this dissertation done. Whether it's a promise to a family member or themselves, whether it's to get a promotion at work, there is something that is pushing you all. You want to transition to that faculty position, whatever it is, right? There is something that's pushing you to get to the next level. And we don't want to, let just life get in the way of you fulfilling your promise to yourself. And we know that when you make the promise and you really make the promise to yourself and really talk about yourself as being worthy of this degree and worthy of the life that you dreamed of after, that will keep you burning, through this process, when in all honesty, you would be ready to quit. And we see it over and over with our clients who finish with us. They have something at the end of the road that is pushing them. And so with that, I want to talk about the fourth promise that you need to make to yourself in order to have dissertation success. So the next promise is that you have to promise to yourself to keep writing no matter what. Trust me, I know it happens, but life will always happen. Some folks say life is lifing right now. That just is what it is, right? Everybody has their own situation. We've had clients losing relatives. I'm just thinking about clients I had a call with who's taking care of a sibling, an older sibling, as well as a child who has special needs as well. So they are burning the candle on both ends, and it's really difficult. But you have to, and what my client I'm giving the example of has done and continuously does is show up for themselves and come to our office hour calls, and they keep continuing to engage in the writing process. Like, you do not stop writing. The folks who stop writing don't finish, because while it's a thought process, the dissertation journey, there is some action that has to happen, and that action is the writing. And so if you're not doing that writing and not engaging that, there's nothing that your chair or committee can do. That is the work that you actually have control over. That's one of the ways we help you finish faster in our program. We just teach you a system on how to write more effectively and quickly so that you can really move forward in this process. And I'm even thinking about one of our clients who just joined the program about 2 months ago and caught COVID. Like, as soon as they joined, maybe like a week into when they joined working with us, and we're out for about 2 weeks. But little did we know, about 2 weeks later, when they were like full recovery, they'd submitted 2 chapters for review. So even during being sick, they understood that, hey, I still got to keep moving this dissertation forward. And they were able to get in 2 chapters for our review from our coaches. That is something that is, for a lot of students, you just say, I'll stop, I'll recoup, and then maybe I'll get back to it at some point. But like, no, the difference between those who finish and those who don't is the fact that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get the writing done. And so some questions that you should consider right now is that, do you have a consistent writing schedule? In the past, I've advocated for daily writing. I think daily writing is important. I know it doesn't work for everyone, so I won't say it's a blanket approach, but I do know that writing once a week is not the best approach either, because if that one day a week you're going to write, you have something else to do, or you're sick or something happens, that whole day is gone. And then next year, that week of writing, you had got nothing done. So this is why I say consistency is key. So maybe consistency for you starting out is 2 to 3 days a week. And then eventually you want to start building on that 3 days a week, or maybe 4 days a week. And you'll get into a routine and a cadence, and it will be much easier to start back up the writing. So make sure you have a consistent writing schedule. Also, if you're thinking about, writing, like, where do you write best and at what time? So for me, I'm a morning writer. I like to write in the morning. That's when my brain is sharpest. I like to write in the morning. But during COVID, when, my little one was home from daycare, at the time she was about 1.5 years, I had to learn how to write at night. And so that was a skill I had to develop. It was tough at first, but I figured it out. But you have to figure out when is the best time for you to write. But what helped me because I'm not a night writer was that I got consistent at it. So my body got used to it and my brain got used to it. This became part of what I did. But for a lot of y'all, you may not even have that routine in place yet. So figure out what time do you write best and where do you write best. Like, so for me, I write in this office that you see here that I record office hours in. I usually do my writing here, but honestly, I can write anywhere. Just plop me down. I prefer to have my 2 screens set up, but if I don't, I just have my laptop. I could write in a coffee shop. I can write, my office at the university. I could go in the midst on a train and write. It doesn't matter to me where it is, but I know for some folks, you need a whole setup and a routine and a place and a space. Use your candles, whatever your whole setup is, right? Because writing is a creative process, even though we're thinking about it as academic writing as being, quote, scientific, but it certainly is creative. You're creating thoughts that didn't exist before you put them down. So whatever your setup is, you got to make sure it's right. Like for me, I don't need a whole bunch of hoopla. I just need to sit down at my desk, pull up my document, kind of figure out what am I focusing on for this writing session and get to work. Some of you all might need to leave notes for yourself. You figure out what your cadence is, but you need to have some type of cadence in order to develop this consistent routine. So these are some of the things that you can consider. And if you don't have these in place, start getting them into place today so that you can begin your writing journey. Because again, the promise you're going to make to yourself is that you keep writing no matter what. That will be the difference between those who finish. And then lastly, of the 5 essential promises that you need to make to yourself for dissertation success is that you have to promise yourself that all the obstacles and sacrifices will be worth it when you are walking across the stage at graduation and become doctor. Like for some of us, we had just gotten so burdened with the responsibilities of work, with life. Sometimes even with the burden of our own thoughts, like sometimes our thoughts are our worst enemy in this process. And so these things have really become obstacles and, in our way. But you have to start thinking about, what do I want at the end of this thing? What am I going to do to get through this? And, some of you all, you might say, shoot, I'm tired of making sacrifices. And for some of you all who are considering working with us, one of the sacrifices you may have to make is a monetary sacrifice to work with us, right? Because our program is premium price. And we do that intentionally because we want clients who are invested in themselves and know that when they invest in themselves, they will do all that it takes to recoup and get an ROI, return on their investment. So when we work with clients like that, we know that there are going to be some sacrifices with possibly money, your time, because maybe you hadn't been giving yourself the time the dissertation needed prior, but now you want to speed things up. So you have to give your dissertation more time at the sacrifice, possibly of time with other family members, other things going on at work, all of those things. So it becomes really important to consider this. And I know for some of you all, the sacrifice just might be admitting that you need support. But this will be all worth it when you get your letters. Nobody's going to be like, oh, did you get help when you finish? They don't care. It's like, did you finish? So like, why are we being so concerned with like, if we got help, if we didn't, or if we try to figure it out? It's no award for saying I had no help to get through this process. It's all about, did you earn the letters and earn the degree? And so that's exactly what we want to do. But we know a lot of folks, we recently surveyed our current clients who've been most successful with us in our program. And one of the things I found so much surprising in our data, when we asked them a question about what were their apprehensions or what did they fear when they were deciding to join with us because they were making such a large financial investment. One of the things in our data that was very interesting was this idea that while they feared making the investment themselves because they were slightly scared, like, hey, if I make this big investment, will I finish? But actually the fear for many of them was that this fear of not finishing was greater than the fear of the investment they would have to make in themselves in order to get done. And the investment in themselves, meaning of time, of money, and of other things they had to sacrifice. So this is something that I want you all to consider as you are, navigating and moving through this journey. And so with that, if you are someone who needs help, you want the support and like, hey, I actually want to process, I want to be in community with other scholars because I know that will give me the peace to finish quickly. I invite you to apply with us in our Velocity coaching program. You can go ahead and scan the QR code that is here on your screen, or you can go to www.velocitydissertation.com. And what someone can do for me, if you're watching this live, or even if you watch this on the replay, go ahead and drop in the link for me, velocitydissertation.com, in the comments. Because I know here on the screen, you may not be able to hyper-click on it and go directly to the site. So if someone's watching, if you can for me, if you're on YouTube, if you're on LinkedIn, go ahead and drop the link for me, www.velocitydissertation.com. Look, we are here to support you. We're here to help you get through this process. But first, it takes you to admit, like, hey, I might need some support getting through and being willing to make some sacrifices in order to get to the finish line. Because those sacrifices are well worth it once you earn your doctorate, because there is certainly a guarantee on the ROI in terms of money in terms of prestige and all those other things that you have gotten your doctorate for, it happens. But if you stay stuck and stagnant where you are, you will not finish. And that is just the reality of it. Because it just saddens me to see students year over year that come to our workshops, and then we ask them to join the program. They say, nah, I'll figure it out. And then we come back again. We run another workshop a year later, and they're still stuck in the same place they were the last year. Had you invested the money, you'd be done. We're getting folks done in a year or less. If you're at the very beginning, a year or less. So if you're someone who's looking to finish that fast, we are the program for you. We know we want folks who are certainly scared to make that investment, because we know that our clients who are scared to make that investment, have a fear of it, actually perform the best in our program, and are someone who is like, look, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this done. And remember, you got to make these promises to yourself that I talked about in today's video with you all. And just to recap, those promises are: first, you need to promise to not give up. Second is that you have to promise to take care of yourself while going through the dissertation process. Third is that you have to promise yourself that you're worthy of the life you desire after the dissertation is done. Fourth is that you have to promise yourself to keep writing no matter what. And then lastly, promise yourself that all obstacles and sacrifices will be worth it when you're walking across that stage and become doctor. This is certain. I do know a lot of us have made empty promises to ourselves, and I want you all to now take the time to make promises that you are going to act on. So if you're someone who's like, hey, I'm ready to act on these promises, but I just need support and structure, then I invite you to apply to our Velocity Group Coaching Program. And if there's anything that resonated with you, drop it in the comments. I'm going to come through after a jump off here and answer your questions. So if you have questions, let me know. And whenever you have questions, I try to turn those into other smaller videos that I can help answer. So your questions, your comments are really welcome, as it gives us other insights about what you all might be thinking about as doctoral students. And finally, for my folks who are watching and might be checking us out via YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications bell. And if you're looking at us on LinkedIn, go ahead and hit the follow button so that you can know when I put more content out, related to the dissertation process, because that's all we're talking about in order to help you all get the strategy and insight to get through. But with that said, I want to say thank you all so much for tuning in from this episode from ABD to PhD show. I'm your host, Dr. Mo Goings, founder of Done Dissertation, where we help doctoral students write and defend their dissertation in 1 year or less. So if you're looking to get support, go ahead and visit www.velocitydissertation.com or scan the QR code, that is here on the screen on that side. But until next episode, I look forward to seeing you.